All right, thank you for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Nikita. I'll be your host for today's webinar. I've been with Tax 990 for just about 3 years, currently as the product manager, and I am excited to go through this webinar with you and help you get prepared for the November 15th deadline. Just a few housekeeping items before we jump right in. This presentation will be recorded and available at tax990.com after the webinar. We will also send out an email with the video recording before the end of the day today. If you have questions during the presentation, please add them to the chat and we'll address those live at the end of the webinar. And please note, we are not tax advisors and we are not the IRS. We cannot answer specific reporting questions related to your organization. And if you have questions specific to your account, you can feel free to email our support team or give us a call after the webinar. We won't be answering account-specific questions live today, but our support team is happy to help you with those questions if you want to give us a call. All right, let's just jump right in. Today's webinar is for assistance with streamlining the filing process. We will review specific features, questions, and a demo. Our agenda today will go over key features of Tax 990 that simplify the filing process. We'll answer frequently asked questions about the 990 series returns. And then we'll jump into tax990.com and take a look at how to navigate the e-filing process using Tax 990. We're going to start by going over our key features that set Tax 990 apart from other e-file providers. For starters, one of our key features is our internal audit. The internal audit is going to help verify that your form and your information meets IRS instructions. So before transmitting the return to the IRS, it'll go through the internal audit, and any errors found will report as an audit, and you'll have the option to fix those before proceeding. Now, this could include missing details, incorrect calculations, just things that don't add up the way they're supposed to, boxes that weren't checked that are required, so on and so forth. It'll make sure all of those things are completed and all of the IRS guidelines are met before transmitting. And we'll take a further look at that internal audit as well as most of these other features when we go into the application for the demo. We offer the record keeping of all of your 990 series returns. So as you file year after year with Tax 990, those returns will remain in your Tax 990 account. So you can download a copy or view prior year information at any point within your Tax 990 account. We offer the option to file amended returns. So if you filed an original return and it was accepted by the IRS and you later notice an error on that form, you can file an amended return for any of our supported forms. A lot of the 990 series returns have schedules associated with them, which are just additional documents that the IRS requires based on the information you provide on the 990 forms. Those schedules are going to automatically populate for you to complete at no additional charge, and only the necessary parts of the schedule will generate. So you're not completing unnecessary work just to complete the forms, and it's not such a guessing game on what's required and what's not. We're going to help you determine that and make sure you complete it per the IRS guidelines. The PDF, like I just mentioned a few minutes ago with your record keeping, the PDF download will be available in your account. So once you complete the return and transmit it to the IRS, you'll get a professional copy of the form in a PDF format. And if you're still working on the form, you'll get a draft copy in a PDF format available in your account. Tax 990 does provide form status updates. This is a really big one that sets us apart from the IRS and other e-file providers. The form status updates are going to indicate you when the form has been accepted, and you'll receive an acceptance letter. So you'll 100% know that the IRS received your form and approved of that filing and that you're up to date for the tax year. The acceptance letter will be a documented proof from the IRS stating, yes, we received this form. Here's the submission ID number related to the IRS. You'll also be notified if for any reason the form is rejected by the IRS. This happens occasionally if the EIN was wrong or if the tax period was wrong. The form may be rejected. You'll be notified of that rejection, the reason it was rejection, and you'll have the opportunity to resolve that rejection and retransmit it back to the IRS at no additional charge. So we really work hard to make sure that your organization remains compliant and is aware of those form status updates. Tax 990 offers two filing format options. We have our form-based filing format or our interview-based filing format. The form-based looks very similar to like a PDF of the 990 series form, and you complete it line by line. Whereas the interview-based is more of a question and answer format, and only the necessary sections populate based off the questions you answer. For example, did your organization have contribution gifts and grants? You answer yes or no. If you answer no, you move on to the next section. If you answer yes, it populates the following questions based on that initial question. So it's a very Q&A format. If you are a tax professional or you work for several organizations or are assisting in filing for multiple organizations, we do have the option to purchase credits, which just basically means you pre-purchase multiple forms at a discounted rate. So if you know that this year you're going to need to file 10 990 EZ forms, you can go in and buy 10 credits and get a discounted rate on those forms because you're purchasing them in bulk. And then when you go to check out and pay for your form, you would just apply a credit instead of having to process a payment with each transaction. Tax 990 is SOC 2 certified, meaning we go through very rigorous certification processes and security processes each year to remain compliant and ensure that your information is safe and secure within our application. We provide the public disclosure document. If you complete Schedule B, you'll have both the professional copy of the entire form in a PDF, and you'll have access to the public disclosure document, which retracts the Schedule B names and addresses for your grants and contributions. So on Schedule B, if you list multiple contributors, you have to put their name and address. The public disclosure will retract that name and address detail so you can use that document for your to share with others. I know that a lot of organizations have to post their 990 series form on their website or share it with others and disclose that information. So we will provide that public disclosure document within your account. A new feature that just released within the last several months is the IRS summary statement. This is basically your determination letter. So we have integrated with the IRS directly, so we can pull those public or those determination letters from the IRS and make them available in your Tax 990 account. So at any point, you can reference your determination letter, and you can view all of the previous year information. If you filed elsewhere, if you didn't file at all of that will be available in your account, and I'll show you that in more detail when we go into the demonstration. Tax 990 does offer the option to file for the current and 2 prior years. So right now we support filing for 2023, 2022, and 2021. As soon as the 2024 forms are released from the IRS, we will stop supporting 2021 and will only support 22, 23, and 24. So again, we continuously support the current and 2 prior tax years for both the original filing and the amendment option. As we know, these forms can be very long and take a lot of detail. Oftentimes our clients will start the form and have to come back to it later after they obtain more information. So it does auto-save as you work through the form. So every entry that you make is going to automatically save, and you can come and go as you please and pick up right where you left off. As I mentioned with the rejections, we offer the option to retransmit for no additional charge. So you can fix those rejection errors and retransmit the form. Tax 990 offers dedicated customer support. We are available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we have our phone, email, and chat support available. A lot of the sections on the form offer a bulk upload option. For example, Schedule B oftentimes has a significant amount of detail related to it. If you have 40 different contributors that you need to list in Schedule B, we have a bulk upload option. For your security, we offer two-factor authentication with your account. One of our major features that is probably most utilized is the staff and review access, which means once you complete the form, you can share the form with other members of your organization, your clients, anybody that necessarily needs to review it prior to transmitting. You can electronically share that in a secure portal, and they'll be able to take a look at that document that you've completed in a PDF format and provide their approval or make comments on it and suggestions on what could change. However, they won't be able to directly change the information you've provided. So then you'll be able to view those comments and go and make the necessary updates or proceed with filing. But it just allows a secure way to share the return with others. The option to copy prior year data is another great feature that people use quite a bit, which allows you, if you file with Tax 990 year over year, it allows you to pull a lot of the information from the prior year return to the current year return just to save time from entering all of that detail again. So again, we have our full support team here, and we do get, of course, there's going to be common questions that come up over and over. So we've listed some of those here today that we'll review. One of the most prominent questions we receive is, can't I just paper file this? I'm just going to send it in the mail. I'm not going to e-file it. I just want to paper file it like I used to. And we do understand that. However, the IRS did mandate e-filing back in 2019. And the IRS honestly is going towards e-filing for most forms. So it is something that's just coming down the pipeline for all of the forms that are filed with the IRS. But it's a good thing. Essentially, it reduces the amount of filing errors, things like our internal audit check and confirmation of schedules. That's going to reduce your filing errors and make sure that you're providing the most accurate information about your organization. And it makes the IRS process more efficient. You can get that IRS acceptance notice within 24 to 48 hours after transmitting. It's all electronic, so the turnaround time is far quicker to ensure that you're remaining compliant. Another really big question we get is the filing deadline. So the annual 990 series return must be filed by the 15th day of the 5th month following the close of the foundation's tax year. So if your tax year ends on December 31st, for example, if you operate on a calendar tax year, and it begins on January 1st and ends on December 31st, then the deadline is May 15th. So May is 5 months after December, and the deadline is always on the 15th day of that 5th month. Right now, we're focusing heavily on the November 15th deadline, which addresses the fiscal tax year that began in July and ended in June, which is a very common fiscal tax year. They have a deadline of November 15th. So if your fiscal tax year began in July and ended in June, then your deadline is coming up in about 2 weeks. So please make sure you get those filed on time. Additionally, if you filed an extension back in May, if your original deadline was May 15th and you filed an 8868 extension form, your 6-month deadline extension ends on November 15th. So it's a very important deadline for a lot of organizations that either operate off that calendar tax year and filed an extension, or operate on that fiscal tax year and have a deadline. The form you file depends on your organization's financial activity during the year. So if your financial situation changes year over year, so could your filing requirements. Just very quickly to run through those options, the 990N is for organizations with $50,000 or less in gross receipts. The 990EZ is for organizations with $200,000 or less in gross receipts. And the 990 form is for organizations with more than $200,000 in gross receipts. If you are a private foundation, you're required to file the 990 PF regardless, but there's a significant amount of information on tax990.com to help you confirm what form you need to file. And you can also look at your determination letter, as that will give you a guideline of what you should be filing. But of course, if you have questions, contact our support team. We're happy to provide guidance. The 990 series form is an annual filing requirement. Organizations are required to file an annual 990 series return to maintain their tax-exempt status. Failure to file could result in penalties by the IRS or revocation of the exempt status. Auto revocation of an organization's exempt status can occur after failing to file for 3 consecutive years. There are penalties associated with filing late or failing to file. A penalty of $20 a day, which is $105 a day for large organizations, for late filing, and the penalty amount can go up to a maximum of $10,500 or 5% of the organization's annual gross receipts. Either way is not an amount of money that an organization wants to pay, which is why it's incredibly important to file on time. If for any reason your status gets revoked, you do have to go through the process of filing a 1023 and reinstating your application for exemption. So just make sure you're filing every year and on time, so you don't have to worry about revocation and you don't have to worry about unnecessary penalties. The 990 series returns are intended to provide the IRS and the public information about your organization's programs, activities, relationships, transactions, and governance, in addition to revenue, expenses, and assets. So essentially, it gives the IRS and the public a general idea of what your organization is doing year over year. If your organization wants to apply for grants or funding, it's incredibly important to have records of your 990 series forms on hand, and they need to be detailed so that the grantor or the fundor can review the activities that your organization partakes in and determine whether or not you're suitable for those grants. So often we have clients that call in because they chose initial return or file return when it wasn't required. So a final return is to be selected if the organization is dissolving or if it is the last return the organization will be filing. An initial return is selected if the organization has never filed a 990 series return in the past. If it's not your final or initial return, you can leave this section blank. There's often confusion, and we'll have clients that choose initial return thinking, well, it's the first one I filed this year. That's not how it works. You only will choose an initial or final return at the very beginning of your organization's exempt status or the very end when you're dissolving the organization. If you're not sure, again, give us a call. We're happy to provide guidance. We have tools at tax990.com, a knowledge base, and inside the application, we've recently released an AI bot that is incredibly intuitive and can help answer some of those questions for you. So we're going to go ahead and jump into using tax990. We're going to look at the process of adding an organization, choosing a return, completing a return, sharing the return for review, signing the 8453 TE, and transmitting the return to the IRS. So we're really going to take a deep dive into the entire process of filing with tax990. Let me just get my testing site loaded up here, just one moment. All right, so I've went ahead and logged into my account at tax990.com. Now there's a couple of things I want to show you before we jump into a form itself. If you are a new client and you've just created your tax990 account, you're going to be prompted to add an organization. If you're an existing client and you've filed with us for multiple years, your organization details are going to be here. And if you file multiple organizations, you can choose which organization from the dropdown. We're going to start because I'd like to show you the IRS summary page that we recently released. So we're going to start by adding an organization and entering our EIN. When we search that EIN against the IRS public registry, it's if it's in the IRS database, it's going to show up here, and we're going to go ahead and click continue. That's going to automatically pull all of the details the IRS has on the organization into your Tax 990 account. So here we can see the name of the organization, the details of the organization, the type of organization it is, the year of exemption, the code, the forms that have been filed in the past for that organization, and view the PDF if it's available in the IRS database. Now, if 2022 is missing, then only 2023 and 2021 will generate here, and there will be a notice here indicating 2022 is missing. From there, if we're ready to start filing for another tax year or another form, we can just click Start Filing and jump right into the forms. I'm actually going to add an organization so I can show you the process if your EIN is not found in the database. The IRS summary here is going to be your view of the determination letter. Oh, I should have, let me go back and show you that one more time. I should have shown you that before we skipped ahead here. I apologize. So I'm going to just click on the home button, and that organization we just added is going to pop up, and the IRS summary is going to take us to yet another view of that information. And if you need to further learn more into what the IRS has in that organization, there's a link here to direct you to that. And again, you can view all of the detailed information that the IRS has on that organization. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just add a new organization altogether so I can provide further explanation. Let's just say, so if your organization is not found in the IRS database, you can manually enter your organization details. So we're going to go ahead and enter the name of the organization. If there's a DBA, you can add those as well. We're going to add the address. And the principal officer details. And we're going to just go ahead and say that it's the same address as the organization and click next. So that's going to automatically add that organization to our account and prompt us to start filing a new form. If you don't want to file a new form yet, you're just adding your organizations, that's fine too. If you click your home page, it's going to generate that organization for you there. As I mentioned, we offer the current and 2 prior years. So if you need to file a prior year, you can choose that option from the drop down over here on the right. If you need to edit the organization details, you can always go back in and edit that as well. Now we're going to go ahead today. I actually have an in progress form in here. Actually, we'll go ahead and just start one. So we're going to go ahead today and start a new 990 EZ form. And as I mentioned, we have the interview-based or we have the form-based. The interview is going to be a question and answer format. The form-based is going to look just like the form itself. For today's purposes, we're going to go ahead with the form-based filing. Now today we're just going to go through the 990 EZ just for time, but if you have specific questions on another form, please reach out to our team and they'd be happy to provide guidance. Or you can check out our website, tax990.com. We've got a significant amount of videos, knowledge-based questions, and past webinars posted there to provide guidance on all of the other forms available, the filing process, common questions we receive on those. Last week we did a series on the balance sheet of each form, so those are all available as well. So if there are specific things that you're looking for, you can definitely check out our website for more information. So we're going to start by indicating our tax year here. We're going to say that we have a November deadline. So our tax year began July, and it's automatically, this is just saying that it's going to auto save. So we changed our tax year to July 1st as a beginning date, and it automatically adjusted the ending date to June 30th. This information in Part C is auto-populated based on the organization details added when we added the organization to the account. All of these details are just extra if they're necessary for your organization. So we're going to go ahead through and start just providing details here on our form. Just one second. Including all of these boxes up here are going to be required. If we forget one of them, it will prompt an error. And then we're going to add our details for the organization information. We're going to start with our revenue, our expenses, our prior year balance. For any other expenses or grants information that needs to be reported on Schedule O, you can add those using these little add info buttons throughout the form. And your amount and add that. If you have multiple entries, you can list all of them out, or you can do them all in one. Then when we exit that, it's going to show up there on our other revenue section. So using these add info buttons, we'll add a statement to Schedule O saying in Part 1, line 8, we added an explanation of other revenue in the amount of $1,000. And on the 990EZ form itself, Part 1, line 8, we've added that $1,000 value. Again, then we'll just work through the form line by line, page by page. We'll jump over to page 2. So these little exclamation points are going to tell you that this value on Part 2, line 27 needs to match our value on Part 1, line 19 of $60,000. So we can input our values accordingly. Again, the add info button will allow us to make adjustments. If this number is high or low, we can add details here. Again, this exclamation point is going to tell us what our values need to equal for Schedule B, so we can input that information accordingly. I think it was the number. Was that not it? Nope, we got one too many. There we go. So that's going to adjust those and resolve those errors. Moving on, we're going to add our organization's mission and our program service accomplishments. If you have multiple program service accomplishments, you can list several of them here. The IRS only requires the 3 largest. If you only had one, you can list just one. It's definitely up to you and how you want to report your information. Again, keep in mind, these details are what the public is going to look at when they consider funding and grants for your organization. So the more detail you provide as to how your organization uses their income, the better. We're going to go ahead and list our officers and the hours that they work on average. We're just going to go ahead and put in one for today. But if you have several, you can list all of those here and add additional rows as necessary. Moving on to page 3, we're just going to answer the questions as needed throughout the form, working page by page to complete this document. We're going to indicate the state that we are filing the return in, the individual in charge of books, and we're just going to go ahead and indicate that it's the same address as the organization. I am kind of going through this a little quicker just for time restraints today, but as you can see, you just fill it out line by line. If it's not required, if you don't have anything to report, you can check the box, check if none. If your answer is yes and it requires additional information, those sections will populate. Now I want to show you, because we've indicated we're a 501c3, Schedule A automatically generated. But because we've not answered Schedule A page 1 yet, no other pages of Schedule A are yet enabled. So we're going to go ahead and choose our reason for public charity status on Schedule A, as an organization that normally receives more than 33 1/3%. As soon as we clicked that option, page 3 enabled for us to complete, because this section is stating that if we choose this, we have to complete part 3, which is on page 3. So we're going to complete part 3 for each prior year. In the current year, and I'm just putting rough numbers in today, so definitely don't take these for what they are. Be very specific in the details that you report on yours and make sure they match your financial status for the organization. That's all that's going to be required on my Schedule A based on the information I've provided. Now I'm going to jump down to Schedule B here. Now, if your organization is not required to complete Schedule B, there is a line on the 990EZ form, the 990 form, and the 990PF form that you can choose to indicate you're not required. On the 990EZ, that would be this line here on page 1, section H. So if your organization had $50,000 in contributions, but every contribution you received was less than $5,000, you may not be required to complete Schedule B. But if you received a contribution that was $5,001 from a single contributor, you would need to report that on Schedule B. So again, I'm going to indicate here on Schedule B my reason for completing Schedule B in the organization. I'm going to jump to page 2 where I can list my contributor details. Now, if I enter $4,999, I'm going to get an error because Schedule B is specifically for contributors that contributed more than $5,000 or at least $5,000. If I adjust that by $1, that error is going to go away. Then I'm going to indicate the type of contribution. Person, payroll, or non-cash. Person may be a check from an individual. Payroll may be something that's like an auto deduction from your paycheck. Non-cash may be a non-monetary valued item like time spent. If you choose non-cash, then part 2 is going to open up for you to complete as well, because non-cash requires part 2 to be completed, which you can see here. It's just the description, the fair market value, and the date it was received. We're going to go ahead and just click person for today. Again, as I mentioned, Schedule B has a bulk upload option, so if you have a significant amount of contributors, you can use our Excel template to upload those in bulk. And we do have some videos and other webinars on how that process works if you look at our website. If you run out of spaces here, you can add additional rows from the bottom. Now, I think I'm pretty much done with this document, so I'm going to go ahead and proceed to audit and transmit. Now, keep in mind, we offer the PDF of the document as you're completing it. It will have draft, not for e-filing or something like that, a draft watermark on it. We're going to go ahead and proceed to audit. We're going to look at a quick return summary, just a visual of what we're reporting. If something looks really off, you can just click edit and navigate directly back to that section, but this all looks fine. So we're going to go ahead to review and go to the audit, where we have 2 errors. So when you get to the audit, it's going to list your errors and it's going to tell you to fix the error. When we click fix error, all of those errors are going to populate on the right so that we can track what we've completed and what we have yet to complete. So this first one, if we click fix error, it's going to take us to the specific part in reference, part 4, and it's going to highlight the specific error that we have. So this one is saying that if we have added something in this field at all, we have to complete all sections of the field. And then it's going to highlight the box that has missing information. So once we add that information to that highlighted box and hit refresh, that error is going to go away and we can proceed to fixing the next one. So we forgot to add our signing details on the bottom. And then we'll click refresh and that should go away too. So now we've confirmed we've resolved all of our errors. We have no errors found. We're going to go ahead and try proceeding to audit again. We're going to review one more time. No errors have been found. That's great. So we can proceed with filing. This is the option that I mentioned about sharing the return. So this allows you to share the return with others for review and approval. And I do want to show you that process. Oops, I put that in the wrong field. So you're going to add the individual's name and email address. If you want to send it to multiple people, you can just click add reviewers and add additional people. Once you've added their name and email address, you're going to click share the return. Oh, we're going to delete that one because we don't need it. And the reviewer is going to get an email. So we've been prompted to this page that says Nikita has been invited. That's it. That's all they've done. Right now, we've just invited them. If we want to change our mind and say, never mind, I don't need them to review it, we can disable access. If we sent it to the wrong email address, we can edit it, we can delete, or we can resend the invitation. Sometimes if it's sent on a weekend, they don't see it, so you want to resend it on Monday, you can do that as well. Now let me find my inbox here and I'll show you what that email is going to look like when we get that come through. All right, so our reviewer got an email stating that this form has been shared for review. So we're going to go ahead and sign into that. And we're just going to put the email address that was used. Now, if they've never reviewed a form before, they'll be able to create their own password. Because I've reviewed multiple forms before, I know my password, so I'm going to go ahead and enter that. So if you share the return for review with the same person every year, they'll just have portal access and they'll just have to use the same password and email address and password each time. And then they'll be able to sign into that document. All right, sorry about that. So again, this is just a general instructions on how the reviewer process works. Because I've shared a lot of forms with myself for these demos, I already have a lot in here, but we are looking for Haven Hope Shelter. And we're looking for tax year 2023. We know that's what was shared with us. Once we find the document, we can approve the return. It will generate a PDF here for us. This is our testing site. It's not connected to the IRS. Sometimes there is a delay because of that. The actual website and application do work a lot quicker than this because it is not a testing site. So once the PDF populates, we'll be able to look through that document. If we notice something, we can add a comment to say, you know, line 10 looks incorrect and post a comment. When we post that comment, the account holder that created the document will be able to view the comments and comment back so that they can see, you can see here that in the account, we clicked review the comment, line 10 looks incorrect. We can comment back and say, fixed it, great, thank you, please take another look. So the reviewer and the account holder can communicate back and forth with each other on the form. Now, when the reviewer goes back in, they can go ahead and approve the return with their signature indicating to the account holder that they approve of what's on the document and they can go ahead and proceed with filing it. Once they've approved it, their portal is going to update and the approved return will be in the approved tab. The yet to approve will be empty because we've completed everything that's been given to us. Now heading back over into the account itself, we'll go ahead and refresh our screen. And now we can see here that Nikita approved the return today at 2:43, and we can proceed. Now, just because you shared it with somebody does not mean that you have to wait for their approval to transmit it. If you've been waiting or you no longer need their approval or whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and transmit that return without the approval. This is just a feature option to help you involve your organization or board members or clients with the process. When you're ready to proceed, you can click Next. And we're going to sign the 8453 TE, which is a declaration and signature, just to confirm that you approve of the e-filing. So we have the option to e-sign or do a manual upload. The manual upload allows us to download the document, print it, physically sign it, scan it, and re-upload it here. Or the e-file option, which allows you to just click the e-file or e-sign, scroll down, click to sign, approve your signature, and upload. So that'll automatically upload that document and signature for you. You also have the option to send the signature page if you want someone else to sign it. If you're filing as a treasurer and you need a board member to sign it, you do have that option to send the e-signature to another individual, and they would be able to access it through that portal to sign that. Once we've completed the signature, we're going to go ahead and proceed with processing the form. This is just going to tell us that we have the filing fee and we have the additional options if they would like them, as far as the text or fax alert. I do have credits available in my account, so I'm just going to review and complete our order. Sorry, I thought I had a credit available. Apparently I do not, so let me just fix that really quick. All right, so then we'll just complete the credit card details and transmit to the IRS. And then we'll get this congratulations page. Your return has been transmitted to the IRS. So now if we go back to our home screen, we'll be able to see the status of the return is transmitted. We'll be able to download a copy of the PDF, a copy of the receipt of payment, and a copy of the 8453 TE. Once the form is accepted, this return status will update to accepted by the IRS, and you'll get one more icon over here for the acceptance letter. If the return is rejected, this return status will say rejected by the IRS, and you'll be able to click on that rejection error and view the reason for rejection. Let me show you, I have one in here. Okay, so like this one says rejected by the IRS, we can click on that, view the reason for rejection, which this one is because of an incorrect tax period, and then we can go in and fix the error and retransmit. This one down here has been accepted by the IRS. So again, we have the option to amend the return on an accepted if necessary and view the acceptance letter. All right, now I know that was a lot of information to absorb in one webinar, so please keep in mind we have a support team available, we have videos, we have webinars, we have a knowledge base, so many helpful tools and resources to give you additional guidance. If you are filing a 990 series return and want to learn more, please visit our website at tax990.com. If you want to jot down our phone number and support email, again, we're available phone and email support Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. We are live people sitting here in an office ready to assist you with your filing process. And our chat support is also a live person, not a bot, and they are available at the same hours, 8:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. So reach out to us if you have questions or need assistance. And we'll go ahead and answer a couple of questions before we finish up here. We've just about finished with all of our time, so we'll answer a few questions. Let's see. Anthony has a question about the credits. If you have leftover credits, do they carry over to the next year? That's a great question, and yes, the credits do not expire. If you do not use all of your credits this year, they will remain in your account and can be used in future for future filings year after year. So they'll be there until you're ready to use them. Danny wants to know if the IRS always accepts an e-signature on 990 PF. Danny, the 8453 TE has been mandated by the IRS when e-filing, so it is included on all of our forms, and the IRS does accept that 8453 TE in association with the 990 PF. Lenore has some questions about the California 199 form. Lenore, I know that your question is a little bit account specific, so we'd be happy to look at that account with you if you want to give us a call. But if it's not on your account for the current year, either you're looking in the wrong account or it wasn't filed with us. Sometimes we'll have clients that make multiple accounts with different email addresses, so make sure that you only have one email address, one Tax 990 account, and again, we can help you with that if you give us a call and provide your EIN. But if you didn't file with us, then we won't have record of that. And the IRS summary information is specific to the IRS, not the FTB. So if you filed your California 199 form with the FTB in years past without using Tax 990, we won't have record of what was filed with the FTB. We only have a record of FTB forms if they were filed with Tax 990. Frank is wondering, he said, I started a 990 with interview form. Can I change the form base without messing things up? Frank, that is actually not currently an option. You can change filing formats, but you will start over on the form. So if you started an interview based and that's just not for you, we recommend downloading your PDF from your dashboard and then switching filing formats to the form-based, because then you can use the PDF as a reference to go back and re-enter that information in form-based. We are working on creating a feature that allows you to jump back and forth between form and interview-based, but right now that is not an option, so you would have to essentially start over. But again, if you have questions about that process, give us a call and we'd be happy to help walk you through it. Christina's wondering about completing the Schedule A, Schedule C, and Schedule D on the 990EZ. So the schedules, like we talked, are going to automatically populate based on the information you provide on the form. So as you complete the 990EZ form, based on your yes and no responses to those questions on page 3, the schedules are going to populate. So page 3 is really geared towards determining what schedules are required. Schedule A is going to generate as soon as you click your 501c3 on page 1. The other schedules are going to generate when you answer yes to the necessary questions on page 3. And then once you do that, the schedules will generate. Charles is wondering if a grant is received from another C3 organization, does it go on? I think you mean Schedule B, Charles, but I think you typed Form B. Yes, so you'll still be required to report any grants or contributions over $5,000 on Schedule B, regardless of where they came from. But you can list where it says name of organization. You can list the organization name. I'm just going to give a few more minutes for questions. If you have anything, please add them. Oh, Christine, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You're saying sections C and D, not schedule C and D. So section C is going to be your organization details, which are going to generate as soon as you add your organization to Tax 990. The EIN in section D and the name of the organization in section C is automatically going to show up on your 990EZ form. And then one of the first questions that you come to when you're completing the 990 EZ is your tax exempt status, so you can choose that 501c3 option. Hopefully that helps. If not, give us a call so we can pull up your account with you and kind of walk you through that a little bit closer with you on the other line. All right, well, there hasn't been any additional questions pop up, so I'm going to go ahead and close us out for today. Again, thank you guys for joining us. We will send out an email with a link to this webinar. It'll also be available at tax990.com. We have one last webinar coming up next week that is strictly a live Q&A. So we'll just open up the chat for a Q&A. You guys can ask all of your questions and we can walk you through some of those answers live, more of just a conversation, less of a presentation. So please join that if you do have any last minute questions, or if you think of anything else between now and next week. We'll send out an email with that webinar registration link. Again, if you have a November 15th deadline, please, please, please get started now. We're also, I forgot to mention this, but we are also sending anybody that attended today a 10% off coupon to use towards your filing, valid through November. So keep an eye out for that information. Keep an eye out for the recording. Give us a call if you have questions. Otherwise, thank you for joining today and have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon.